Good evening, and thank you for joining us this evening. I would like to call this meeting to order. Can I have somebody approve the agenda 102?
Move it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Passes 6-0-0. For those of you at home this evening and you would like to reach out to the Board of Ed, you can reach us at our email, clerk@fulton.cnyric.org. In the event of an emergency this evening and we have to evacuate the building, we can go out the back door. We can head out Mr. Polvino's doors to the side, move away from the building as far as possible. Would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public forum this evening, we have one community member who would like to speak with us, Frank Castilia. Feel free to jump right up to the podium. Welcome.
Could you hold the clock for a second? Please don't start the clock. Oh, this thing does work, doesn't it? Yeah, the reason I'm asking her to hold the clock is I had to correct myself on comments I made last night about the number of administrators in Oswego. It is 15 from what I could see. I wanted to make sure. See, I do correct myself when
Thank you, Frank. Thank you.
when I quote myself wrong, I correct myself.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, now you can start the clock if you like to. I'm here to talk about the budget. I know we talked about it last night, but last night everybody was talking back and forth, but I wanted specifics tonight, and that's why I came tonight to speak on the budget. First, I'd like to know how many board members are from the education field. Are you all from the education field? Except for Tim. I know Tim didn't, but the rest of you are all from the education field, correct?
Not all of us,
No?
some of us.
I am.
We are.
Only three of you are from the education. You've only been in you haven't been in education before.
Military education.
Okay.
AmeriCorps education.
No, I'm talking about being a teacher, being a
I taught in the military.
Okay, all right. Okay. All right. The reason I asked there's reasons I asked that, but anyways, before I get cut off, I'm going to let you know that I have requested an audit by the Attorney General's office, State Attorney General's office, because there was rumors of items being misplaced or missing. And I myself have also contacted the Comptroller's office for an audit of it's not the misuse because everything's approved by the board, but I think it wasn't used properly. And I'm asking them to look into it. And the reason I'm doing that is because I think it was 2 years ago, I asked and brought to the attention of the board that we were wasting $40,000 by going all the way out to Golden Sun to get gas. All of the school district vehicles were getting gas out there, and you would be losing $40,000 over the course of the year. And when I was leaving that meeting that night, one board member said to me, "Frank, do you realize that $40,000 is less than 1% of our budget?" And I'm sorry, but $40,000 is a lot of money to a lot of people in this city. And it also means it could buy some supplies for teachers, it could buy some uniforms, it could buy stuff. And 40,000, when that comment was made, it really irked me. Now, we're talking about even further back, I brought to the attention of the board, they were paying pump price at the gas stations when we were getting gas. And I was kind of belittled by saying, no, we're not. And I was put in my place that we weren't paying pump price, and I knew we were. And then again, yes, you got a refund from. I knew my time was going to run out, but I'm just letting you know that you guys have squandered money. And you said $93,000 in revenue that you lost from taking this building back over again. $93,000 is a lot of money, even to me. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you're talking about it. The admin raises, I'd say you cut those. They're not, unless you got a contract, you know, through a negotiating team. But I would say your admin raises, all of them. They've got to save some money somewhere. And again, whatever you save, that would buy supplies, that would keep people occupied, okay? Thank you very much. I knew you were gonna cut me,
Yeah.
and that's why I wanted to make sure I got in about the Attorney General and the Comptroller's office. Thank you very much.
And, Mr. Palvino, you will reach out to Frank again? Kate, you have information you're gonna reach out to Frank about? Frank, some of these questions have been answered for you in the past, correct?
Not the $40,000, you didn't. The statement was, it's less than, and the reason being.
Oh, I didn't say that to
Right,
you.
no, I know, but the reason, don't put me on the block again. The reason.
No, I just a yes or no?
Yeah.
These questions were addressed with you before? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, and I will make sure that the team readdresses those questions with you.
It's still a loss of money right now.
Thank you, Frank. All right. I need someone to approve action 1.06, the regular meeting minutes from April 8th.
Move it.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Passes 6-0-0. President's report this evening. Take a look, we have quite a few dates coming up. Our BOCES budget approved meeting will be April 29th. We have to make sure there's a paper in here as well with the candidates that are running for our city BOCES, so make sure you read over their biographies. That will be being done on April 29th. April 30th, the school board candidate nomination petitions are to be dropped in by 5 p.m. And the next morning at 9, the candidates' names will be drawn in order for the ballot. Voting registrations available at the Ed Center. Public budget forum on May 8th. That is both virtual and in person. That will be here in this room. Brian and Kate, correct? You both will be doing that. Okay. And on the 13th, we have our regular board meeting, and we will also be doing our board evaluations, the start of that process. Some policy and safety committee meetings coming up. And May 20th is our annual budget board election. From 9 to 9, we have 2 voting sites here in the city. We have one on the west side, one on the east side. The west side is at the Memorial, the east side is down at City Hall. If there is any questions or concerns, if you want to know where you're voting and you're not sure, just call the superintendent's office and Ms. Trude will get that information for you. So we do have that. Also, after the budget vote, the next day we will ratify the budget. So please come out and vote for our budget. We'll be going over that a little more later in the meeting. Mr. DeJalorum, you had a few things that you wanted to bring up about the advocacy for this meeting?
Yes, I forwarded the, are you talking about the resolutions?
Yes.
NISBA sent out resolutions and I wanted to make sure that everybody got a copy. So I emailed that. They will be sending out another survey based on what their resolutions that are in your kit. You'll then vote on those, and then if I'm still the delegate for the business meeting, then I'll take our votes to the delegate, to the business meeting.
Okay. So if you did not get the email from NISBA itself, Mr. DeJourm did send that out, I think it was last Thursday you sent it. So if you didn't get the resolution kit email and you want it again, please just let Nick know and he will make sure to forward that on to you again. So read through those and let us know what you think.
And what's that for again?
NISBA's position statements, what they bring to the legislature. To the state, whether they agree with or oppose. We vote on that, and then I take it to the business meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Or
So we already
our
voted on
delegates.
these ones, right?
We did this past year, so this will go for next fall's.
Okay, so are we going through that process then again right now?
Yeah.
Okay, then I gotta make sure I get that, because I don't have that yet, I don't think.
All right. I wanted to do an update on our super search. As you know, Mr. Palvino will be leaving us in July. The board has been diligently searching for our next superintendent. We have done a closed search. We have interviewed several candidates. We are pleased to share that we are in the final stages of securing an agreement with our next superintendent. While this is not an official announcement, it's kind of a little soft announcement that we are hoping will be more final at the beginning of May when we come to our next meeting. Hopefully we'll have a resolution then. But we just want to kind of keep you informed that we are moving forward with this process. We're super excited about the future of our district's leadership and where we're headed in the future. And we want to thank you, the community, for your support and for your patience as we finalize the details in the next couple of weeks. But I am pleased to announce that our candidate is here with us today, Mr. Doug Lawrence. He is going to be joining us very soon. So everybody please welcome Mr. Lawrence. It's great that you could be with us tonight. We're super excited that you came.
Thank you very much. My pleasure to be here. It's been a great process. I want to first thank the Board of Education for entrusting me with this position and Mr. Polvino for putting this district in a great spot for me to hopefully take over and continue to lead the way. So I know through this process it's been outstanding to learn more and more about this community and this school district. I can't wait to hop in and hit the ground running. I'll be patient. I know we have a little bit longer till potentially July, but I'm very much looking forward to working with our administrators, staff, and community to support our students. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I think that we're headed in a great direction, and Mr. Polvino is definitely here for any questions, and he helps us along the way, and we can't wait to bring you on board. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Great. Also, I'm super appreciative of everybody who attended the budget forums, whether you came in person or you were in the virtual. That was great for our team to get feedback from the community, to be able to answer questions, and I know that it was great to sit back and see what the community had to say. So I definitely appreciate everybody or sending emails. And Kate, I was going to ask you, is that email still available if community members still have?
Yep. At the end of the budget presentation, I'll put it up on the screen again and read it for everyone. If you continue to have questions, certainly send them ahead.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Don't forget to come out and vote with us on May 20th.
Yeah.
So with that, if we have no further questions from my colleagues, I'm going to pass it over to Superintendent Palvino for the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Congratulations, Ms. Lawrence, again. Looking forward to working with you and helping you any way I can. So first item on this evening's superintendent's report. It's hard to believe we're in our second meeting here in April, and one of the key points is we're talking about programming for next year. We're going to start off with our new social studies courses. Mrs. Hendrickson.
All right, thank you. I'd like to welcome and introduce Nate Pasillo, our social studies department chair at the high school. He's going to give an overview of the courses that the social studies department would like to offer next year. So you want to expect the first one.
Thank you, Renee. So one of the moves we'd like to do to help our students be more successful is go from AP to our dual enrollment courses. So we have basically contacted Cuba Community College and OCC to see if we could do this, because our AP results they're going down. They're about 50% of what they used to be in terms of success in the last 5 years. And I don't know how much you guys know about this, but the students have to pass the test in May. If you don't pass the test, you don't get the credit. You could know the standards very, very well and just have a bad day and not get the credit. Dual enrollment is much more in the hands of the teacher. It's how well they do in the course over the course of the year. And we have much better results. This has been done with AP Calculus and Stats, I believe, already. The difficult part is getting approved. And CCC has already approved 2 teachers to be able to do this. So we want to do this next year for AP World. So instead of taking AP World, which is 10th grade, the students would take Western Civilization in the spring, and then they would take World Civilization, in the fall, and then World Civilization in the spring. So it would be 6 credits. Right now, Western Civ is already an elective, but it's for seniors. So that would get pulled down to the sophomore year. So we only need to approve World, which you see up there, History 112, World Civilization. The great thing about all these classes, all these courses, is they're also gen ed requirements. So when students pass them, they get the half credit at the high school, they get 3 credits at the college, but they also get general education requirement credits. So when students go to any SUNY school, actually any school, they have to take general education courses. So even if they're majoring in, accounting, they still have to take a course in English and in social studies and so forth. They have to do 10 of them. So these courses are all part of that SUNY list. Another good thing about dual enrollment is the students are already enrolled in college. The colleges are, at least from my experience, and I've talked to our counselors about this, they're much more likely to approve transfer credit than AP credit. Some schools aren't even accepting 3s anymore. It's on a score of 1 to 5. So most schools, you need to score, most colleges, a student needs to score a 4. Some won't even accept that. On the other hand, if you're already enrolled in SUNY, CCC or OCC, that just transfers over. So we're hoping that helps our students more. We're hoping it saves them money, it saves them time. The AP test is also expensive for our kids. I think it's $91, I think, per student. And then low socioeconomic, I think it was $56. CCC, OCC is free. So we like to do the same thing. Oh, before I move on, the AP course, we actually polled the students. 90% said they wanted to do this. And I think that's kind of obvious. They'd rather get their credits in class than have to pass a test. We'd like to do that this year coming up. And then with US history, we'd like to do the same thing. We currently already offer 19th century American history as a senior elective. And all we would have to add is America in the 20th and 21st century. So those 2 courses would be fall spring, just like the world course, and that would be American history for our juniors. So if you look on the right of that table, any student that's doing all of this, possibly could get 15 credits, and all of them would be general education requirements. Now AP Economics is tricky. We're trying to do this with AP Economics. We have no teachers that are approved by CCC. CCC is very tough. They want your teachers to have a master's degree in the content or at least 9 credits in the content. None of our teachers have 9 credits in college economics. We have 2 that have many credits in history, but not in economics. So we're currently working with OCC. They have different qualifications. Hopefully maybe they can approve modern economic issues, which would be the same, OCC, CCC, either way, it's all SUNY. So we're hoping that would happen as well. And so as you can see, currently it's AP World. A student next year that would be planning to take AP World, in the fall would do History 102, Western Civilization 2, and then History 112, World Civilization 2. And just so you know, the way history is broken up in college, there's really 3 kinds of history. There's American history, and then there's European history, and then there's world history. And you can major in each one of those. So the junior year is all American history. And it's pretty much the founding up to the present day. And that's why 104 and 105 cover that, 19th century and then 20th and 21st century history. At the end of both of these courses, students will still take the Regents exam. That is not tied to their college credit though. Their college credit is granted by how they do in the course. in the 4 marking periods, not on the Regents exam. That's completely separate. Any questions?
You said that the cost for the AP, is our students paying for that? Or
Yeah.
are we? Okay, so our students are paying for that particular course, okay. And then, I have to ask, because we're in budget season. We're using our staff to do these courses, so there will not be an added expense because we're working with the college, and you said that that was free for the kids, so,
Yes, we're using our staff.
okay, all right.
So there's no test that students have to pass to get the 3 credit hours for CCC?
No, the coolest thing in my opinion about this is when you get approved for AP, they approve the test and the content. Students have to get through the test to get the credit. CCC approves the teacher. And the teacher has the liberty and the flexibility to, work with students and recover things with students. It's much better. So, no, there will be tests in the class.
Right.
For sure. I mean, it's a college level course, but no, they do not have to pass an exit test where, all their eggs are in one basket. There's none of that.
So
Same-
whatever the teacher feels is appropriate for that class.
So you have like a
Right.
final or something at the end of
So the
the,
same
Yep.
syllabus that you're taking this course at CCC as a postgraduate student, you're taking it as a first-year high school or college student. They would take this course, for example, and we filed that syllabus.
There is communication between CCC and our high school teachers. We have a mentor, and we basically, they tell us what book we should use. They also communicate the curriculum. We have to submit our syllabi to them.
And
Yes,
so it's just the same grading scale, 65, you pass, you get the 3 credit hours.
yes.
Yes. And what, is it just for, so if a student wanted to take Western Civ 2 as a 12th grader, would that be possible?
So-
Is there flexibility to do something like?
That's
To
the
do that?
predicament we're gonna be in next year.
Okay.
Because, like I mentioned, the 2 courses you guys see with the asterisks, they already offer them, and they're kind of they're for seniors. Seniors like taking them. So, the current juniors, we will have a section for them next year. So we will have Western Civ and 19th century. We're planning for a fall, spring, just 1 class, because I think the numbers for Western Civ are 20, maybe 28 kids. In 19th century, might be about 20 kids. So we're gonna do that next year, and possibly the following year for the current sophomores who are not in it. Where it goes from there, I think we just have to look at demand to see what happens, because there are kids that could be a sophomore and they're not ready to take a college course at that level.
But we're flexible in that area. If you're not ready and there's room,
Right.
a student could still take that class. Do you know what I
You
mean?
mean they can be in the same room as like a sophomore?
Yeah.
There's nothing that says they can't.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't have a problem with enrollment then?
I
Because you
don't
have
think
like
so.
the flexibility to have a 9th grader taking modern economics if they're ready. Do you know what I mean? I don't know your content area, but do you know what I
I
mean?
understand what you're saying. We have the opposite problem with social studies with enrollment. We're back to the gills.
You're packed. Okay. Just wonder, economics. Stats, statistics, I'd like to see that up there. You get rid of that.
Any other questions?
I think it sounds like a great opportunity, to be quite honest, to get, 3 college credit hours with your high school teacher and have that, you have connections anyway with your students because you're there from 9th to 12th. So I just feel like it's a good way to get, it gives more opportunity for our students.
Yeah,
It lends
If I'm
more
reading this right,
opportunity.
Mr. Sewell, it's 3 per semester, right?
Yes.
Yes, because that's what I did with my English class, the same concept, the OCC English. And I ended up with 6 credits I was able to take in, and they covered my English requirements for my freshman year.
Yeah, it's you, after the year, you get 6 credits. It's great.
Yeah.
And from a personal perspective, I've taught both of these. I've taught AP Economics for 21 years now. And it is heartbreaking seeing kids that worked very hard just get that 2 because they had a bad day. And that happens all the time. And kids that score in the 80s and 90s, and that will not happen with dual enrollment. It won't happen. So.
Can I, and maybe you said this at the beginning, but have we noticed a significant decline in our number?
I can
for
send you the actual numbers. We looked at all this beforehand.
Yeah.
Yes, I can say ballpark for AP World, they're all about the same. AP World, AP US, and AP Economics, we roughly have 25 to 30 students. We're going back pre-COVID, probably 2018, 19, all the way through. 25 to 30 students passing the test, 3 or above. That's not saying 25 to 30 actually got credit. Some schools wouldn't accept that. Now we're down to around 10 to 15 per year actually passing the test. So.
And we're
it has
still
gone
around
down.
that 25, 30 kids trying to get.
In the class, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I think this is gonna be a wonderful opportunity. Thank you for bringing it to us.
I think what it also does is it adds to our opportunities for kids. We offer, over close to 6 or just over 60 college courses now with our early college high schools and the other opportunities. So this is very much in alignment with our kids. And when you talk to some of our kids that are freshmen entering colleges, they're walking in, some of them as first-year sophomores, second half of the year sophomores last year. So we have great opportunities for our kids here in Fulton. I think this adds to more opportunities for our kids and allows more flexibility as they approach, all of the SUNY schools obviously take it, but also the privates as well take these credits upon review. So it adds to our arsenal of opportunities for our kids here in Fulton that I think give us an advantage over many of the districts in the region as far as the numbers for our kids. So,
especially having those kids on the fence, like you were saying, you're right there and you think you're gonna do well on the test. First of all, being in a socioeconomic, we're disadvantaged, so you have to pay for it. Then you're almost there, you don't quite make it. If you're on the fence on whether or not to continue with college, you might not go. But with this option, I mean, it's a no-brainer. You're gonna get the college credit, you're gonna make sure that they get the college credit. You have that connection, so I think it's a great opportunity for our students,
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
think there's less intimidation too.
Right.
Some kids see AP tests, I don't like tests, they stay away.
And if they are seeing success, I just got 3 credit hours in a college course, that might give them the extra push to continue on to
Confidence,
college. Right, so yes, thank you for doing all the work behind it.
I do appreciate it.
thank you, Mr. Zula, and your team.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alrighty, next item this evening, just want to bring attention to, we're doing a little bit early because our next board meeting is actually after Teacher Appreciation Week gets started, but May 5th to May 9th, 2025 is Teacher Appreciation Week. This evening, you have a proclamation which is in the form of a resolution that you will be voting on. I'd like to read it and enter into the record. Proclamation declaring May 5th to 9th, 2025 as Teacher Appreciation Week in the Fulton City School District. Whereas teachers mold future citizens through guidance and education, and whereas teachers encounter students of widely differing backgrounds, and whereas our country's future depends upon providing quality education to all students, and whereas teachers spend countless hours preparing lessons, evaluating progress, counseling and coaching students, and performing community service, and whereas our community recognizes and supports its teachers in educating the children of this community, now therefore be it resolved that the Fulton City School District Board of Education proclaims May 5th through 9th, 2025 to be Teacher Appreciation Week, and be it further resolved that the Fulton City School District Board of Education strongly encourages all members of our community to join with it in personally expressing appreciation to our teachers for their dedication and devotion to their work. I just want to extend, and they should get it each and every day, a great appreciation for the efforts of our staff and our teachers on behalf of our students. I think they work very hard, they think out of the box, and they're there for our kids each and every day. And I will be eternally heartfelt, I extend a heartfelt thank you for all of their efforts, and I hope we celebrate their work each and every day, but there's a special week, May 5th through 9th. So, thank you. And now our financial report for March, Mrs. Hooper.
So before we get into the budget, I do have just a quick update for the March financials. Again, the familiar slides that we show at the second meeting of each month, comparing our budget numbers from the previous year to the current year, looking at the revenue and then the expenditures and, where we stood at this time last year compared to where we are currently. Again, you'll see the percentages are very similar. We did receive some additional state aid payments in March, so the last couple of months, I know I've been saying that the revenue percentage and the expenditure percentage were a little closer than I like, but now we see some distance with realizing 79% of our revenue, and we've spent about 67% of what we expect to spend of our overall budget. So that's a little more comfortable than we've seen the past couple of months. In terms of the revenue breakdown, as of comparing February to March, in terms of the local share, which mainly tax revenue and some other revenue in addition, we've realized most of that. Our second tax collection period is just concluded. Our state revenue is up over 45.4 million, at 71%. We expect the rest of that to come in throughout the spring. And then we have begun to receive more of our expected federal revenue in the form of our Medicaid reimbursements. That was frozen for a while, so that's good news as well, bringing the total that we've received so far to 69.9 million as of the end of March. In terms of the expenditure breakdown, again, spending about as we would expect. I think I draw attention each month to our, where we're spending in terms of benefits. That's a higher percentage than I would like to see. That spending quickly, and as we know, that's where I feel we're going to be in an area of concern as we near the end of the fiscal year.
It makes it nicer.
Huh? Is that better? Yeah. I apologize.
We can see it now.
Okay. The budget projections as of the end of March, and again, this is as of the end of March only. This isn't projecting through the end of the fiscal year. Again, with that employee benefits line highlighted, because that is in the negative in terms of what our financial system WinCap is projecting where we will be at this point in the year. Through the end of March, it's projecting us to be in the negative. And then, as I've done for the last couple of months, just breaking out that employee benefit line to show you the area of concern, of course, being health insurance. That's the big area where we're projecting an over expenditure, making that whole employee benefits portion of the budget over budget for the fiscal year. And it's holding steady at about the same level as it was in January, February. So, but just to update and show our continued monitoring of that budget line and that area of concern as we continue to move forward towards the end of the fiscal year. Questions about the March financials?
Why are some numbers in parentheses and some aren't?
The parentheses mean they're overspent at the.
So we're overspending in the areas with the parentheses.
Right, and I put the red for the health insurance just to draw more attention to it. The other areas I will do budget transfers at some point between now and the end of the year. Like the teacher's retirement, I'll do a transfer between employees' retirement and teacher's retirement because I can cover between those two numbers. I didn't do it for this meeting. But the health insurance is too large of a number to do that within that line or those lines.
Is this a normal thing where we usually overspend in these areas, or is this?
I would say the line towards the top, the teacher's retirement line, isn't as abnormal because that can be covered with a budget transfer. The health insurance line is not normal, and that's what we're working so hard to avoid next year.
What about the workers' comp? Is that normal?
Again, it's not great. We didn't expect to overspend that line, but it's a line that could be covered with a transfer.
And vision insurance, like, they're pretty, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Again, those are lines that if you can cover it with a budget transfer, again, it's not ideal, but
Right.
those are things that you can work with.
I guess maybe I didn't say it right. Are those numbers usually what we see? Do we usually overspend in those areas?
Not always, sometimes. And you learn from it, and next year, we'll look at that, and I budgeted more. Because you don't want to overspend in any lines,
Right.
so.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and the presentation you've all been waiting for. So this is the tentative budget presentation for 25-26. It's very similar to the presentation that we discussed at the last board meeting, but I think it's important to go through again, just to review everything, answer any additional questions, and for anyone in the community who's watching and who may have questions after listening to the presentation again this evening. So again, just to remind everyone of our vision, mission, and our dragon values, again, that we've all been keeping in mind as we've progressed through the budget process this year, as well as our circle here with our learning, wellness, and life pathways for our students at the center of everything that we do. This slide, we included as some of the priorities and really sources of pride that we kept in mind as we were discussing the budget and the items and the priorities that we kept in mind as we were thinking about next year's budget and what we wanted to make sure we were able to continue to deliver. And just as we've spoken to different community members and we have had some questions come forward. It does sound like there's some information out there that, there are potential cuts to programming such as art, music, sports, languages, and that's just not true. All of those programs are funded by the 25-26 budget. And, that's where we want to make sure that we reiterate that our academic programs and our opportunities for students will continue to be delivered in the budget. Now, where things become tricky is if the budget doesn't pass, and then some of the extracurricular opportunities, not academic programs, but the extracurricular opportunities would have to be looked at again and perhaps reduced. But we wanted to make sure that, again, we reviewed our priorities and the things that our budget would continue to deliver. Again, student safety being right at the top, along with our academic programs, our multi-tiered system of supports for both academics and behavioral and emotional supports for our students, academic intervention and supports for our special needs or our special education needs, continued opportunities for college level courses, which we just heard more about a few minutes ago, extracurricular opportunities, our community schools programs, summer professional development opportunities, and professional learning teams for staff. A review of some of the factors influencing the 2025-26 budget or challenges to the 25-26 budget. Again, we've talked a lot about escalating healthcare costs. We're talking about that in this current budget with the slides that we just discussed and the questions that Mrs. Mainville was asking. Also, the cost of operating. And the example that I use in this presentation is gas and electric. I think that it's an example that a lot of people can relate to, whether it's in a school, a business, or even in a home. I think everybody's felt the price of gas and electric bills increase. And then contractual increases are a factor in every budget in terms of contractual raises and and funding our staff. So this graph we've reviewed in a few different meetings now, and it shows a 10-year trend of our healthcare costs starting back in 2015-16. And it shows really for several years our costs remaining relatively stable and flat. And then beginning in 22-23 to 23-24, we start to see the sharp increase we've been experiencing. And then over the last 3 years, we've experienced an overall increase of around 55%, which is really devastating to a budget. The cost of operating with the example of gas and electric, it really began to increase significantly in 24-25. Both gas and electric increase. You can see electric is the most significant increase from 23-24 to 24-25, and we expect another increase in 25-26, which is a major factor in the capital portion of our budget. It falls under the operations and maintenance portion of the budget, so certainly that has to be considered. And school districts aren't immune to increased costs in utilities such as this. And really, this is one example that anytime we have to rebid a contract, you kind of figure that the cost of doing business is increasing. So we recently had to rebid trash and recycling, and that contract increased. So anytime something has to be rebid or renegotiated, you run the risk of it increasing in your budget. Then contractual increases. When beginning the projections for the upcoming year's budget or rolling over the budget, contractual raises are one of the first increases to consider. In the 24-25 budget, salaries accounted for almost 46% of the overall budget. Then when you couple that with the benefits, it's over 70% of the budget. In 25-26, each bargaining unit receives either a percentage increase or dollar amount increase between 3 and 4%. So certainly those are increases that you have to factor in initially when you're projecting your budget number. All right, and then the 25-26 tentative budget. A couple of notes to begin. Again, when you do the initial rollover, you just kind of project, this is what we think the spending could be before you think of any ways of reducing or cutting back on expenses. And our initial rollover budget was just over 99 million on the expenditure side, representing a 12.2% increase. And we knew that was far too high when we rolled over the budget. So immediately we began thinking about ways we could reduce spending before even talking about reducing positions. Where can we cut back any type of spending? We carefully analyzed all of the different areas, whether it's supplies and materials, equipment, BOCES services, other contractual services, and ultimately looking at benefits, salaries, and positions. And through the reductions, we were able to bring the expenditure side into balance with the revenue to reach the budget number of 94,197,840. Which is an increase of 6.45% from 2024-25. And it does represent a $5.1 million reduction from the initial rollover budget. Then this slide, and I do apologize for the glare, I know it makes it hard to see. This represents a 10-year study of our tax levy, just to give some context of the tax levy and what Fulton has done over the last decade in terms of increasing taxes. So the average increase over 10 years has been 1.2%, whereas we don't have the average up there, but the average tax cap, it's oscillated, but the average has been around 2.35%. So There have been years where we've gone to the cap, but there have been many years where we have not. There have been a couple of 0% in there. And I think the board has really carefully considered each year, what's important to the community and, tried to be fair in what type of increase they feel they can ask the community to consider. So in blue at the very bottom is what we're proposing this year, and it is highlighted in blue because it certainly has not been voter approved yet. Our tax cap this year is 2.15%, and we're proposing a 1.9% increase to the tax levy. In dollars, that's $431,390. We like to include this slide, although it's an estimate, because we're basing it on the information we have. We don't get next year's tax rates sent to us until sometime in the summer, so we're using last year's tax rates, but this gives the estimated impact to a household of what a 1.9% tax increase could be, depending on each household's assessed value. So the estimated increase for a home assessed at $100,000 would be approximately $34.58. For a home assessed at $200,000, it would be $83.98, and for a home assessed at $300,000, it would be $133.38. And again, those are.
Can I ask a question that
Sure.
I'm hearing from the community? So when you bring up this slide and it says $100,000 house, $34.58 per year increase, is that per month? Is that
Per year.
Per year. So when I get my tax bill and it's $1 and $1, it's now going to go up to $35.58 per year. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Is that so? It's per year.
$1.
It's not per month. Like I'm not paying another $34 per month. It's
No,
like per year.
It's per year.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. And this slide is the projected revenue for 25-26. And on the left, it shows percentages. State aid making up the majority of our revenue at 68.9%, which is expected. The proposed tax levy would be 24.4%, and the proposed tax levy is $23.1 million. And then the slice of the pie that's slightly larger this year is other. The reason for that being we have proposed the use of some of the district's reserve funds, $3.85 million, meaning we're proposing the use of our available retirement reserve funds, our employees retirement reserve and teachers retirement reserve, mainly, as well as a small amount from our reserve for employee benefits and accrued liabilities. And that the purpose of that is to help balance the budget and close the gap between the revenue and expenditure side. Then before showing the expenditure side of the budget, this slide just defines the three components of the three-part budget. The program components being regular school, special education, special schools, meaning summer programs and occupational education, student services, extracurricular activities, transportation, employee benefits associated with that component, and interfund transfer to special programs. That means that's the district's share of the extended school year program for special education. The capital component includes operation maintenance of the plant or the facility, our debt service, which is the way we pay back our debt from capital improvement projects, employee benefits associated with that component of the budget, and an interfund transfer to capital. That would be if we had planned on doing a capital outlay project. Those are $100,000 capital projects. We are not proposing a capital outlay project for the upcoming budget, so you won't see an interfund transfer to capital, but if we were, that's where that would be found. And the administrative portion of the budget includes the Board of Education. The Board of Education section, a large portion includes a BOCES charge, which helps pay for the budget vote in the election. And central administration is the superintendent. School supervision and curriculum supervision is our principals, directors, executive directors. Finance is the business office. Personnel is human resources. BOCES administrative services, that's a charge from BOCES, and that actually makes up about 25% of that budget component, and employee benefits associated with that budget component as well. All right, and then this shows the dollar amount as well as percentages of the three-part budget. The program component is what we want to see being the largest component of the budget, and it is at 75.7%. The capital component at 14.7%, and the administrative component at 9.6%. And those are similar percentages to what we have in the current year budget as well. This slide breaks down the expenditures just a little bit differently in terms of expense category. I apologize again, that is another bad glare. The expense categories that are listed are salaries, equipment, contractual, materials and supplies, BOCES services, debt service, employee benefits, interfund transfers, and then the total at the bottom. One line that I know has stood out to everyone from the beginning of our discussion is our debt service line that decreased by 1.8 million. That was due to some of our debts falling off from a capital project. It seems odd to say, especially in a difficult budget year, but you want your debt to remain kind of stable. You don't want it to go up or down very much. And in talking with our fiscal advisors, our debt will go back up again to a similar level that we see it at this year, because your debt is also tied directly to your building aid, so you want it to remain fairly stable. So next year we'll see it rise back up to the level it's at this year, which is actually a good thing. Are there any questions on the different expense categories?
Yes.
If you can see them. Go ahead.
Well, that was one of my first questions. Do we have any money in the budget to buy some shades? So we don't have any problem anymore? That's the first question. Another thing
I
is,
could buy some sunglasses maybe.
well, I don't want it to go in a capital project where we're gonna spend,
No,
you know,
yeah.
$5,000 to put in some shades when we could just go to Lowe's and have custodial put them up. When was the last time we did an energy audit on all our buildings?
It's a good question. I would have to ask, that would be a question for Corey and
Because
Tim.
pre-1972, most things weren't insulated. Then when the energy crisis came, that's when people started putting insulation in their homes. A lot of homes today, you go to a house built in 1950, you might see newspaper in the walls as insulation. And we really only have, what, 3 schools that date after 72? Valony, Granby, and the junior high?
And there are wings on other buildings that were later. But yeah.
Right. And what percentage of our lights have been converted over to LED?
It's almost 100%. That was part of the EPC project that was completed about a year ago.
I still think we have too many lights on. I mean, if they took the roof off at the high school, planes could land. There's so many lights. I mean, it's like a landing strip down the hallway. Well, you can't bend over to pick up the dollar and miss the nickels and dimes. And what did we do? Let's see, 2021 is when our health costs started going up every year. What did we do to start counteracting that once we saw that it was starting to be a pattern?
I think in 2021, if you look at that graph, and again, this precedes me by quite a bit. Even if you look at 2023, that's where we reached the level we were at in 1920. So I say 2023 is when we started to go up and we didn't come back down again.
Right.
You know what I mean? So since 23, 24, then we went up again and we're continuing to go up again. I mean, we're looking into different options, whether it's within our current healthcare program, whether it's different options that are out there, anything we can do. You know, much of it has to be negotiated because it's within contracts, but any cost savings that are out there, we're looking into.
Right.
You know, I think one thing that was described to me by a couple of different people is that when COVID stopped, insurance companies themselves went back to the negotiating tables with hospitals and providers. And I think that that's kind of what's hitting people in the face. I mean, it's not just Fulton, I think.
Right.
I think that's part of what we're feeling.
Well, everything, home insurance, car insurance, they've
But
all.
no, I mean, we're looking into, like I said, any option within our current program, as well as if there are other things out there that aren't our current program that could save us money.
Well, we need to correct or do something soon,
I
or
know.
else
I know,
next year's
I know,
budget could be even worse.
you're right. So, we are, and
Right, we're presently working with the bargaining units, looking at cost savings within our own current policy, which is a self-insured policy. We're also exploring other options with the bargaining units, comparing the current policies with possible other policies, and looking at those cost savings associated with that. We also had an opportunity to work with a free consultant through Small Cities Association, of which we were associated. We met with them over the break, and they had run some of our numbers, and they brought a very different lens to things as well, which allows us to really look at some different types of things that we should be exploring. So I think we've got a number of irons in the fire, and the idea is that any of those strategies could help us save dollars on next year's.
And I think, you know, this isn't, we budgeted a lot more for healthcare next year too. You know, we're not gonna allow it to be overspent another year, but again, that's why our budget number is where it is.
We have to find a way to flatten it.
Yeah.
We can't continue to have that type of, and I think some of the strategies that we're looking at, hopefully in the next couple of months, we'll be able to really get some good lenses on the comparisons and provide that information so we have those discussions with our bargaining units, and hopefully we can find ways to flatten that the way that graph is going. We need to flatten that out like it was before.
Mm-hmm.
And just some other points, community points that we're hearing throughout the community, just so we can clear it up. We're trying to control the controllables, right? So if we look at the salaries and we see the increase, that's sort of out of our control because that's contractual.
Yep.
So nobody's getting any crazy raises that weren't predicted, we're under contract, and that increase is not controllable.
Right.
That is contractual. So when we look at salaries and the contractual, that $845,000, that's not controllable. What about the BOCES services? Is that controllable or is that contractual?
So,
Or what does that entail?
anything that we purchased through BOCES. So, and we looked at BOCES and we looked at, you know, it's sort of a give and take because anything you purchase through BOCES, you do receive aid the next year. So, but it is money up front. So, and we did reduce several BOCES purchases thinking, you know, if we're looking at reducing positions, would we rather give up some of the BOCES services and not reduce as many positions? And we did do some of that because that increase would have been probably higher when we rolled over the budget at the $99 million mark.
Yeah, but we just don't see that in
No,
this.
because-
Right, because it's very clear that we're not increasing equipment, that's
Right.
controllable. We're not increasing materials
Yep.
and supplies, that's controllable. Just so that,
Right.
there's been a lot of community,
Yeah.
you know, concern
Sure.
about, you know, salary raises and and things of that nature, but that's out of our control.
Right, and some
That's
of the things you would
contractual.
see in the contractual line too, that's where that gas and electric would be, for example, or some of our special education related services we contract for. So those are things we have to.
You have to
have within the budget.
Right.
BOCES services, again, some of our special education programming is in there. Those are high ticket BOCES items.
And that number was higher than the 950,000, so we did decrease in that
We did.
area as well. Okay, thank you.
This table just shows over the last 5 years what our overall percentage increase to the total budget number has been from 21-22 forward. And then, of course, this year, the proposed budget increase is a 6.45% increase. And somebody asked a good question at the community forum, and I think it's worth clarifying. They said, so wait a minute, does that mean that our taxes are increasing 6.45%? And no, it doesn't. So the budget is increasing 6.45%. The proposed tax levy increase is 1.9%. And then the next couple of slides summarize, again, the reduction in positions that we did make as part of the budget process. And these are the same slides we reviewed a couple of weeks ago, but then again, just for reminders or people who may not have had access to this presentation before. So the total positions reduced was 59. Much of this was accomplished through retirements and resignations. So far to this point, we've had 16 retirements, 13 resignations, and 15 fair dismissals. Some specially certified positions will still have to be replaced. So for example, chemistry or physics, that's a special certification, not everybody has it. So if a chemistry or physics teacher retires at the high school, you would have to hire for that position. We don't necessarily have someone else there that possesses that certification. In terms of actual layoffs, we have at this time 4 instructional staff, 15 non-instructional staff. This is subject to change based on future resignations. And
Mark, I think.
I would say that as of tomorrow, it'll be 3 instruction staff.
Okay.
I do know of a resignation coming in that is going to reduce that 4 to 3. And again, we would typically find out about these probably the middle to end of next month, because as schools and districts go through the interview process, staff would wait until they are board approved, just like we would counsel our staff to do the same, and then they would hand us their resignation. So given that it is still mid to late April, my guess is not only will we bring back all of those instructional positions, but we'll probably have to hire for more. And that's just the typical 3% 3% retention rate, or 97% retention rate. We lose roughly 3% of our teachers every year. So we're hopeful that anybody who is on that list instructionally will be coming back.
And quite often, how do you fall within the non-instructional? There's quite a turnover in some of those areas as well,
The non-instructional is a little different, because with the non-instructional, a lot of that was really led by annual reviews and projections for special education students next year. I mean, typically you want to provide students with education in the least restrictive environment, meaning that you want to ease off some of those restrictive interventions as they get older. So a lot of students who had 1-to-1s, we were able to place them in 2-to-1s, which reduces staff. And a lot of the students, as they become 8th graders, 9th graders, 10th graders, you really want to pull that intervention back completely to allow them independence to continue to grow and be ready to graduate into the workforce. So what you're looking at with the non-instructional staff was less of a need for 1-to-1 aides, and we don't have a position. We really were reducing by 15, but in truth, I believe it was 27 that we reduced. So we're actually keeping 12 to redistribute throughout the district for more student support and help them in buildings with student needs. So a lot of all of the non-instructional reductions were really based on a lack of need as opposed to a necessity to reduce that position. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you for clarifying that. And should you have more resignations or retirements in that specific area, you too would have the opportunity to call these folks back as
Same
well?
process by seniority, everybody received a letter, it was numbered, we keep track of the numbers, and as soon as the jobs become open, we call them back in order of their seniority. Obviously from 15 all the way up, from 1 all the way down to 15, I mean.
Thank you.
Yep.
The next slide kind of summarizes the 59 positions that were reduced. We had a couple of questions asking if we could add numbers to these different categories. These numbers don't represent layoffs, but total reductions. Many are retirements, resignations, or fair dismissals, and are subject to change. But these are all the different categories where the reductions took place. So it ranges from administration to clerical, the multi-tiered system of supports coordinator, special area teachers, interventionists, secondary teachers, special education, instructional coaches, student support services, teaching assistants, aides and monitors, and custodial. Anything to add?
No, I don't. Again, it's just important to note that these are not layoffs. These are the reductions that we made through attrition and working with our bargaining units as well as our administrators as to where we can make these layoffs without really impacting what we can provide for kids each and every day.
And I think that's important that you keep referencing more, because it's not programs, it's reductions that we made due to attrition maybe not meeting in a certain area anymore. But when it comes to those programs people care about, people talk about, we made sure to keep it student-centered so that we are keeping all those things and providing the same services we've always provided. We're just able to do it in this way, looking at what we can do it with the people we have.
And we worked with, again, our FTA, our Aids and Minors Association, as well as our Administrative Association as to what positions we build back first, what they feel is the most important that we bring back if we have the ability to do so as we stabilize the budget. So really it's been a collaborative effort looking into what's best for kids, working with different stakeholders and trying to come up with a plan that can help balance the budget but really have a minimum impact on the academic supports and programming we can provide for students.
Just a couple of slides regarding a contingency budget. It's not a scenario we want to find ourselves in, but I think it's important to share the facts on what could or would happen if the budget does not pass. In that event, the district has some options. You can put the same budget out for a revote. You can put a revised budget out for a revote, or the district could go directly to a contingency budget without a revote. Our contingency budget does have certain requirements. There's no permitted tax levy increase. The percentage of the administrative portion of the budget to the administrative portion plus the program portion cannot exceed the lower of the prior year or the last defeated budget, whichever one is lower. For us, that would be an 11.28%. You must remove or reduce non-contingent expenses. The biggest example of that is equipment purchases. And then you must also reduce other contingent expenses such as further reductions to materials, supplies, and contractual expenses. Just adjusting some of the numbers, if we did take out the tax levy increase, the overall budget number would be $93,766,450. Really, the three-part budget, the percentages stay roughly the same. Program is still 75.7%, capital 14.8%, administrative 9.5%. Then a breakdown, and again, this is a draft, but taking out some further expenses. Basically, again, we're taking out the increase in the tax levy, which is $431,390. You're able to reduce a little bit in several of the different expense categories. Salaries, again, equipment is a must. You have to reduce those expenses. Some contractual and materials and supplies to reduce the budget by the required amount. It becomes much more difficult when you're reducing that last 400 and some thousand. You're really kind of nickel and diming, and it's tough. these are reductions that could be made to meet the requirements. It does meet the requirement of the admin to the admin plus program percentage. You know, if we did go to a contingency budget, the team would certainly need to gain further input from the board to ensure that everyone's comfortable with the reductions in each category in terms of the specifics. So, as I said, this would be more of a draft, but.
How much would it cost the community if we had to run a second vote?
Yeah, that's, you read my mind, Tim. It's actually at the bottom of this next slide. The additional cost of a revote is right around $20,000. And then additionally in this slide, what types of things are reduced in a contingency budget? As I said, the reduction of the equipment expenses, funds to pay for extracurricular advisors, supplies, and contractual expenses associated with extracurricular activities, funds for field trip expenses, some salaries and miscellaneous salary expenses, for example, substitute pay for clerical, funds for meetings outside of school hours, etc. Some funding for modified athletics, additional reductions in supplies, and additional reductions in contractual expenses.
Also, community using buildings.
Community using buildings, you're right.
That's also has to be
Right.
stopped.
So the contingency budget leaves us little room for anything extra. So when people, you know, ask about a project or an opportunity, unfortunately, the answer has to be very often no, because we simply would not have the extra funding. So, you know, my sincere hope is that we do not have to move in this direction, but I think it's important to share the facts of, you know, what the steps are should that occur.
I appreciate you bringing that to attention, because that's quite often, and I'm not sure about the rest of my colleagues, but that is what I've been hearing a lot this week about people just saying they're gonna vote no for whatever their reasons are, and everybody's reasons are valid, but they don't know necessarily what a contingency is. Even to say contingency, people didn't even know that that was a thing. So for you to put some of these things, and we still as a district are trying very, very hard to make sure nothing comes away from that academic in the classroom student. So these are things that people might not have thought about. That $20,000, that would be a huge hit for us to have to possibly do that again. But as you said, there were 3 roles. We may not end up going to that revote,
Right.
and it might be
Directly to a contingency.
right. People's voices count. I know a lot of people don't realize that by not coming out to vote, these types of things can happen. I mean, this is taking away from our kids, and we don't want to take away from our kids, period. The whole program is our kids, you know. The academics, the safety and the academics, most important. But these are what keep our kids coming back to school, so that we don't have the absenteeism problems, and that, you know, that's helping them with a release and an outlet from their day. So everybody in the community, your vote is super, super important. Your voices count. I think that we've heard it too, that there are people who may not own homes who think that they cannot vote, correct? What is the cutoff date for somebody who may not, or have we hit that date? The cutoff date, if someone is not registered to vote, but they live here, May 6th. May 6th, is that what you said? So there is the opportunity for people who may not have that they're not registered to vote, to still get on, call into our superintendent's office. They will help you get that set up. But everybody's vote is so important when it comes to the budget. That's just my little
You're right.
public opinion, private opinion.
And I think it's just important that the community knows that if we end up having to go to the contingency, I mean, we don't have a choice to go outside of those areas, the flexibility, the ability to do some of those things. We kind of don't have the control at that point, because that's where the state steps in and says, this is what you're going to do. And I just feel like, again, we really tried to not impact the students, our kids, in that way. And so I think that's the important, get out to vote, make sure we can keep these things. The things that, you know, people in our community are proud of, you know, those are the things they go after, because they're not, quote, required things. But as Brenda says, you know, these are the things that our kids come back for. These are the things that keep kids in the seats. These are the things that prevent our absenteeism from going lower. You know, that's what we're fighting for when we're trying to pass this budget, is to make sure we don't end up in those situations.
Okay, if we had to go to contingency, this bottom number here on your next slide, I'm probably getting ahead, would save what, 300, or 4,000? $431,390. And we gotta figure in the 20,000 it's gonna cost, so we're looking at saving $411,390.
Yeah.
What impact is that on you had the slide of what it was gonna cost each household at 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. All right, at a $300,000 home, what am I saving by reducing it by $411,000? I don't need an answer right now.
Yeah, I'll have to do
You may not have-
some math.
Do some math.
If we're talking, it's gonna cost me $134 a year in my taxes. And if by reducing it by 411,000, I'm gonna save $6,
Yeah.
in my tax levy. It's, the contingency it's a waste.
Right.
Really, I mean, it's gonna cost us to do a contingency, so what are we saving? What is an individual saving on his taxes?
I can work that out for you.
Thank you. Maybe at the next meeting.
It won't take me that long.
I'm sitting here, not for me, but
No,
for the public.
exactly, yeah.
For
No,
the
that's a
public,
good question.
what difference is that $411,000 gonna be?
Right.
Essentially, what does it cost me to say no?
Right,
Because that could be the deciding factor between somebody coming out or not coming out to vote too. If they think that, well, it's not really gonna save me that much, so what's the point?
right, so maybe in our next budget forum,
Yeah.
we say, at the current budget, if it passes, it's gonna cost you $34 per 100,000. If we go to a contingency, it's gonna cost you $30 per thousand, so,
What did they not pay an increase in taxes? So it would cost about $11 a month for a $300,000 house, or $11.50, right? Because they wouldn't be paying that $133 extra a year, divide that by 12.
Yeah, but
My
Nick
math
is
isn't very
saying
good.
that you also incur a $20,000.
If we go
Well, the
back
point
to
I'm making
revote.
is
It's a little
what the
bit.
difference would be, and the taxes would stay the same as they are this year, there just wouldn't be an increase. So the increase is $134. To your point, it'd be like $11 a month for a $300 house.
at the 94 million.
If we were in contingency, maybe there is no tax increase. The taxes wouldn't go down, they would stay the same as they are this year, they just wouldn't go up.
Right.
So $135 a year, which is what, $11 a month, $12 a month.
That's for the 300,000.
We can have a slide for that in the final presentation on the.
To your point, not very much.
Right.
Not
So,
very much, a couple sodas.
to go through a contingency,
Correct.
to save, a couple of
Lose
dollars a year.
control over what's best for our kids to save
Right,
anywhere from $4 to $12
That's
a
my
month.
point.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
said so eloquently.
The last slide, or last couple of slides, just a review of our timeline. We do have one more budget meeting, board meeting, next Tuesday?
The
Yes,
6th,
the
yeah.
29th?
Or the 29th, no,
Well, we have a city budget vote on
we
the
have the city
29th.
vote on the 29th.
Oh, okay.
And then we have, and then we have the 8th, we have the public budget vote.
And, and the 13th is a
Another
regular meeting, and then the budget vote on the 20th.
One of the things that I was thinking, was that we may want to add, and we'll talk as a team, but we'll add another budget forum. I just think we've had an opportunity, we probably should put that back out there
Sure.
again as people are really thinking about the contingencies and other pieces. I think the other thing I would add is that we want everybody to be an informed voter, and we want to make sure, reach out to us. We gave there's an email address that goes directly to Ms. Hooper with respect to FCSD budget at fultoncityrec.org. There's also, obviously you can watch the live streams. The PowerPoint, and I apologize for the sun coming in, we don't normally have that much sunshine. We had sunshine tonight. Those slides are all on the budget website as well as the board docs, so you'll find this presentation will be on there tomorrow. And every presentation we've done around the board, or the budget, is on that website for the Fulton City School District. So there's a number of places, reach out to us, call us. Again, we want to hear from you. We met with one of the schools yesterday in a site-based meeting, and actually one of the adjustments we made to a slide tonight came out of that meeting. And so, again, we are listening, and sometimes people may see other solutions or strategies that we may not be seeing. So I think every conversation we have, every interaction allows us to put another lens on the budget and think about things and make sure that we're maximizing what we're trying to accomplish here for our kids.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I mean, as we've been going through the budget forums, people have been giving you guys
Yeah.
what are their solutions, which I like that you said you added another slide because of that. So, there are people out there who have things to bring to us that maybe we haven't thought before of. And I know you guys have been going over everything over and over again, and it's been a long process for you, and you bring it back to us. But our community members having those extra ideas, I think is wonderful. Their voices are important, and I think it's wonderful.
I think it also helps us, point out where we need to clarify more.
Yeah.
Where the questions are, where the misunderstandings may be, or
Yes.
where the ideas lie as well. I think that's a great point.
And Kate, I'm sorry to let you know, I do not make $500,000 a year as a board member.
Yeah, that is, yes, I forgot to mention that part. That is one of the
I just
misconceptions.
wanted to let you know.
There's nothing in the budget where the board makes any money.
I was kind of insulted. I saw that online and I said, you know
I'm
what, I'm not
sorry.
seeing any of this.
I didn't see that, Tim, but yeah. No.
And I think that's what's helpful. I mean, sometimes I think there's misinformation that gets out there, and when it's brought to our attention, we give the accurate information. Because we want people, again, to have accurate information. And I think that's really important, that we do that, so.
And you guys are always just an email or a phone call away. Like, again, you can always reach us at our clerk email address. If we, the board, don't have the answer, we will get it to the proper people to get that information out. But I know that Superintendent Palvino always is available. He will talk to you on the phone or through an email or in person. He's always answering your question. Kate's been really good about answering the budget community portions of the question. So the district we try to be very transparent, and we do want you guys to be informed and to know what's going on in this budget process. So please continue to call and ask or send emails, because you guys are working in it every day and you have the answers for our community. And I appreciate all that you guys have done thus far in this budget process. I know it's been a tough one, and I appreciate all the work that you guys have done. So thank you.
All right, that's all I've got.
And that's the conclusion of the superintendent's report. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna move on to our financial section, 4.01, to accept the financials. Can I get somebody to move it?
Move it.
Second.
Tim and Tim. Is there any discussion?
I'd like a little bit of an overview.
So Paula, could you give us a little clarity on what some of these financial reports are, please?
Yes, so each month you are provided the reports that are both the revenue and the budget status reports. These basically are more detailed to what Kate has already provided for you in her presentation. So what you get are 3 different funds: the general fund, the cafeteria fund, and the special aid fund. And the special aid is where all our grants are housed. So you get the reports for these monthly. That is, again, revenue and expense. The other items that you receive are the extra classrooms that are at the junior high and at the high school level. And then the third report that you get is the treasurer's report, which is our cash reconciliation for the end of the month. So you can see across those lines, you can see what our cash balance is. It also lists our interfund transfers, so when you receive money, we transfer it to, say, capital or to special aid to pay those expenses that are within those funds. If there's a specific question, I can address that, but that's kind of the broadest overview of those reports.
Paula, you send us these in our emails. These are under the warrant, or are you only sending those to the audit committee?
No, I think what you're talking about, Brenda, is
the audit.
the audit committee
Okay.
receives the warrants.
Yes.
Before the warrants go to the full board.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure that Ms. Crowell wasn't missing anything that she
Yes.
was. Does that clarify?
Yeah.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Passes 5-0-0. Action 4.02, to accept donation from the Fulton Lions Club.
Move it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? passes 500. Action 4.03, accept the donation from Fulton Savings Bank.
Move it.
Tim and Nick? Was that Nick?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Passes 500. I want to thank both the Lions Club and the Fulton Savings Bank for their generous donation.
Thank you very much.
Action 5.01, the resolution of appreciation for teachers for our declaration from May 5th to the 9th, which is Appreciation Week for our teachers.
Move it.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Passes 500. I want to thank all of our faculty for the work that they do. We see you, we see the great strides you go through to work with our kids and bring great things to them. So thank you for reading that declaration for us, Mr. Palvino, and thank you to all of our staff for the wonderful things you do with our students. Our next agenda item is a roll call. This will be to approve the 25-26 tentative budget. So first I need somebody to move that.
Move it. Second.
So Nick and Tim Crandall. All right. I am a yes. Mr. Connors.
Yes.
Mr. Crandall.
Yes.
Mr. DeJalorme.
Yes.
And Mrs. Prahl.
Yes.
That will move 500. It passes. Action 5.03, adopt the 2025-2026 property tax report card.
Move it.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Passes 500. Action 5.04, to approve the sponsorship of continuing education for adult education programs.
Move it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Passes 500. Action 5.05, approve committee on special education.
Move it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Did I get a second? I didn't hear the second.
Nick.
Nick,
We're good
okay.
there.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Passes 500. All right, so for the policies, it was our first read. We had quite a few that we needed to read through. Was there any discussion on any of those policies or from anyone on our policy committee that wants to add
I'll just
anything?
throw it in there.
All
So, we had some other policies too. A lot of these were just the bread and butter, making sure that we have them up to date. Some of them hadn't been updated or looked at since before I was born. So we figured it was about time to look at some of those, or, that was when they were originally put in. So we wanted to make sure we were updated on language and those things. Some of the policies overlap, so that's why some of them we're gonna look at it again during next meeting, which we're having another one in May. And just kind of look and say, do we need this in one policy, 2 versus 4, so that it's all clear, so people understand if they go in and look at the policy, they can understand what's expected of them. So that's our update on policy.
Thank you, Tim, I appreciate that. Okay, for our personnel, would my colleagues be interested in batching 7.01 to 7.09? I first want to state that we did have one change that I forgot to ask you about at the beginning. Mr. Colvino, do you want the?
Yeah, 7.08, just it indicated an appointment for spring sports. Actually, we have girls wrestling in the winter. So that's a winter sports appointment, so it's for next year's wrestling season.
Okay, so that is 7.08, just for clarification. So would somebody be interested in batching 7.01 to 7.09?
Move it.
That was Tim and Tim?
I'll second, yeah, whatever.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Passes 500. All right. Board forum this evening. Mr. Crandall, would you like to start us off?
Oh, sure. I want to thank Kate for everything she spoke about tonight. I want to thank Mr. Casillo for an update on that. And hopefully I don't know, with us approving the budget tonight, that's just a tentative. If we found savings or could look into something else and we saw that would change, right?
We just.
Do you know what I mean?
We just approved it.
What you approved was the number. If we underspend that budget, there's no problem. That's our maximum budget
Oh,
for next year. So the idea is if we underspend that budget by $1 million, that's a good thing. 2 million, I mean, that's the number, that's
Right.
the target number for the
so
budget.
we
that you
can't go over it.
That's the goal.
We do not want to go over
So
it.
if the state gave us more money, like we could do different things with it, but we can't go over or spend more than we've already
Right,
projected.
right. That's kind of
We
what I
approved the
would say.
spending plan.
We got Kate, she's got a plan. Anything else you'd like to add?
And
Mr.
that's
Craig?
it.
Ms. Pearl?
Well, I'd like to say again, thank you, Kate. You make an intimidating subject less intimidating. And I want to say thank you again to the administrative team because I know how hard you guys work. And I was one that I never understood it, so I'm really kind of glad I'm here. And I watch how hard everyone works. And everyone tries to keep the budget in control and without the loss of anything for the kids. And I love that. I want to say welcome, Mr. Lawrence. And I want to say, I'm glad you brought up to the community about getting out there and voting because, you know, a lot of people do take the attitude, nah, I'm not gonna vote, it'll probably just pass. And I believe that a lot of people who look at it and they don't understand it, they might go out and just say, no, no, no. And we want people to understand it, and please contact anyone to get the accurate information because there is so much inaccurate information out there. If it's on Facebook, people still take the idea, it's true. It must be true. And I wish they'd get away from that and go with facts.
Thank you. Mr. DeJorme?
Yes. Just want to thank Mr. Fusillo. I don't want anybody to think it's Billy. Anyway, what a great opportunity for our kids to be able to offer 63, did you say, Brian? 63?
We're presently 63, this would increase that number.
Wow.
Opportunities.
The opportunity to earn college credits. Mrs. Hooper, always a great presentation when you talk numbers. Looking forward to that number, that adjustment. I think if people could look at the difference between our budget and the contingency, and what a small number that's going to be over a year, added, you know, to or what they think they're going to save. I think that'd be great. Again, welcome to Mr. Lawrence. If there's parents out there who haven't voted and you've got kids in this district, please, please, please. Our numbers are small, if I remember right. I look at those annually and it's
Around 700.
about 700. And how many kids do we have?
Approximately 3,000, a little over 3,000.
Which equates to how many families? I think we said
We have
1,100.
approximately 1,800 families.
1,800 families. We should be getting at least 1,800 votes out there. Unless these are all young families under 17, you know, they can't vote. But anyway, that's about it for me. Just thanks everybody for presentations and looking forward to that budget passing. Thank you.
Can I kind of jump in here? I'd also like to say, for Mr. Fusillo, I was one of those kids that I couldn't take a test to save my life. I could get straight A's through the whole course, but it came to a test, I bombed. I took geometry, this going back a long time, 3 times to pass that Regents. I was getting A's in the class, but I couldn't pass the Regents. So I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, the college credits alone right there is wonderful for our kids. Our kids going in, some of our kids go in and they're at a sophomore level by the time they come out of Fulton. I hear it every year, proud parents whose kids are moving in and they're not really freshmen in college, they're sophomores. So thank you guys for providing so many opportunities for our students. Mr. Connors.
You know, I always end up in this position where I'm like the last couple of
Well, sometimes I ask you to go
But
first.
you know, I always want to just, you know, continue to thank yous to everybody, you know, whether it be the donations, whether it's the people in our district working hard. I know I ended up in a couple of the schools and areas the other day and just, you know, hearing everybody, you know, running around and, you know, positive voices, you know, sometimes you walk into scenarios and you're thinking, I don't know if this is the best place, but hearing the positivity, people going around, people going through their day, you know, getting there between the bells and hearing that and thinking, oh my goodness, this is gonna be awful getting through, but still getting through and it's okay. All those little things add up to making a successful day and making a successful environment for our students. So I'm glad to see that, and I'm thankful for all the teachers and people putting effort in our district to make that a possibility, because it's not like that everywhere. I really want to say, I'm glad what we were able to put forward for the budget. When I hear about places where we're one of the few places in the county, let alone if you keep going out, that offer strings as an option for music. When I hear about some of the opportunities we offer for college credits, some of our internships, those different things, those things that separate us not only in the county, but across the state, where other people are looking at us and saying, how do we do that? And I'm glad we're able to keep those things and make sure those things keep going. And I want the parents out there to continue pushing forward, whether it be safety, whether it be certain academics, whatever it is. Tell us what you want. Tell us what's important to you. And we want to make sure we keep that in the budget like we've tried to do this time, just because we want to make sure that our education that we're providing to our students, your kids in the community, reflects the values and things that you want. And we want to make sure that we're providing the opportunities that will not only allow them to be successful in school, because you know what? Great, you had a B+ in economics when you were in high school. How about I can go out, I have a job, and I can pay, and I can afford to have a family and do those things. Those are the things we're trying to set up in the Fulton City School District, that you not only succeed in high school, but you go on to succeed in life. And I think the way we're positioning things, your work, Mr. Pasulo, everything, trying to go over to how can we set up our kids to be successful, not only in school, but in life. I want to keep that going forward, and I hope to continue that as I run for the board for another term. 3 more years to hopefully continue this positive trend of preparing our kids to go out in the world and be successful.
Thank you, and I really don't know how to follow up behind Mr. Connor, so I'm going to definitely say ditto to what my colleagues have said. I do want to say, I mean, we've already had 2 April champions, and I mean, they have been wonderful to watch. If you haven't had the opportunity to watch, Mr. Capani go around and dote on the wonderful things our community is doing, and I feel like you could, have your own TV show. Like you just do such a great job out there, and those kids love when you tell them that they're going to cheer loudly for who walks in the door, and they erupt in a beautiful noise. I love it. Yes, and I can't wait for who our anonymous 3rd person is, because have we done that? I know I've seen.
We've done it. We know it.
Okay.
It'll be out Friday. It's Tracy Waldron and Lanigan.
Okay, so
very well.
Who hopefully isn't watching.
Well, no,
she apparently knows. Oh, because you've already been. So we had Mel Thomas and Carol Lavoie, and now
it'll be Tracy Waldron.
Tracy Waldron. So I cannot wait to watch. Just wonderful opportunities to even just thank our staff for the wonderful things that they do. We have a lot of great things going on here in Fulton, and I am so proud to be part of it. We will move on to a second public forum. If anybody would like to join us at the podium, come on back up, Frank.
I'll start that one, please. Okay. The percentage of raises for the admins, what percentage are they receiving a raise? You said that the other, people are getting 3 to 5.
For collective, the admins that are part of a collective bargaining contract are getting 4%.
Okay, so how much is the admin raises? What's the total of those?
I would have to look that up.
Okay, all right, then, what took me back real quick was the fact that, well, if we have to do a second vote, it's gonna cost us $20,000, and that's a big hit to the taxpayers. Yeah. But you didn't say anything about the $93,000 you're losing in revenue because you took this away from BOCES, okay? And you didn't say anything about the $40,000 that I brought up that you were losing by sending the people out to Minetto. But $20,000 to have the people have a second chance to vote on a budget that you guys have got to bring, you guys don't have to bring another budget forward to them. You don't. I know that. You can say, well, we're not going to. We're just going to go to a contingency. But, you guys aren't going to be very pleasantly welcomed in the community if you don't come back and say, we're going to reduce it. We're not going to, lay people off. We're going to rehire people. And the rate's not going to go up. But this is what we're going to do. And the people will vote for it. But I said it last night, and I'll say it again tonight. And I've said it on Facebook. I am voting no on this budget. Why? Because there's too much fat in there, and there's too much misspending of money. And really, $20,000 is gonna be a big hit. And I don't know, $93,000 a year is what you're gonna lose, revenue from BOCES. But $20,000 to give the people a second chance to vote, that's a big hit. I'm sorry, you know, it's amazing what happens, and I'm not surprised. But, you know, you guys, and it's not the percentage of money that you're putting in, okay, and it's gonna be a low amount. If we, you know, you're only gonna save, it's gonna go to $11 is all we're gonna save. It's not that. It's the point that the people have a right to vote. If they don't like something, they're gonna tell you. But you put fear into them, saying, well, we're gonna cut their programs, we're gonna cut this, we're gonna cut that. Because if we go to the contingency, that's what's gonna happen. And that's what they're afraid of. Last night, I mean, Jeff brought up the point and said, well, we're gonna have to go to a contingency, but I'm glad that you brought up the point that we have to go to a second vote before we go to a contingency vote. Okay? Now, you guys know, we don't vote on the city budget, we don't vote on the county budget. I vote on the county budget, and I vote no every time because there's too much fat in there given to the admin, not the rank and file. And that's what the people are, you know, they need somebody that's gonna stand up and say, there's too much fat, cut the fat.
All right, your
Don't
time's
cut
up,
the rest
sir.
of it. Thank you very much. Have a great night, everybody.
We will be moving into a brief executive session. And can I have somebody moving into the executive session? Tim, can I have somebody second that?
Second.
Second.
Kate.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining?
We're
Passes 500. Thank you for joining us this
Jeff,
evening. Please come out and vote your All right. Somebody move action 9.01 adjournment.
Move it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstaining, passes 500. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.